The move I'm gonna recommend is knight takes d4, which opens up the game immediately, and is sort of more in the spirit of the Marshall. And theoretically speaking, I think at the moment everything is fine for black, but it leads to very sharp play, so this judgment could change any minute. But at the moment I can't see any problems, and I don't have any problem recommending this move as a repertoire choice for black. White has two moves. The first one is not very surprisingly knight takes d4. After e takes d4, white should not play queen takes d4, because then c5 followed by c4 kind of traps the bishop. But instead go e5. This is the main line of this variation, and we're gonna get to it shortly. The other moves is slightly more stunning if you haven't seen it before. It's not knight takes e5 when after knight takes b3 black is just better with his two bishops. Instead it's the move bishop takes f7. Which is really a shocker if you're not familiar with it, but by now it's pretty much mainstream theory and has been featured in some of the games of the world's best players. Kamsky has recently been playing that before Ivanchuk played it, so it's not such a huge surprise anymore. Black has to take back, doesn't really matter how actually, but rook is kind of more natural, so he can't check us. Knight takes e5, and now practice and Rybka has shown that black doesn't have a better move than rook f8 back. White takes on d4, and all of a sudden he's a pawn up. Anyway, this pawn came at a price. First of all, he had to give up the two bishops, which I value quite highly. And the bishop is going to come to b7 and have a nice square. Then the queen and the knight in the center are sort of like open to attacks from the black pieces after c5, queen c7 and so on. Black is going to win a lot of time while developing against these two pieces. And thirdly, he has opened the f-file for the black rook, which might come in handy in the near future as well. So let's come to the theory. The main line used to be the move c5 here. But the judgment has sort of changed. Kamsky recently introduced the move queen c3 in reply, and he got a good position against Anand. It might be a very decent novelty, also given by the computer as far as I know. And also Ivanchuk, he won a game after queen d1 against Leko. After queen c7, he went knight g4, knight takes g4, queen takes g4, d5. A long, crazy variation. Queen h5, d takes e4, queen d5 check, king h8, queen takes a8. White can't stay a rook up, he's gonna have to give his queen for this good fortune. But still, Vasily Ivanchuk managed to grind out a win from this position. While I don't think it's terribly dangerous for black, it's still something we'd rather avoid if we have a good alternative. Something like this. It's hard to say who's better and why. Anyway, Leko in his latest outing against Kamsky, he played bishop b7 here himself. And you won't be surprised to hear that this is also my main recommendation. Also check the notes to the game by Marine, he's giving some very interesting points. So after bishop b7, in the game white played c4, which I don't consider the most critical move. Because now white is opening the position while he's not really developed yet. Black played c5, a standard theme, gaining some time against the queen and preparing a square on c7 for it. Queen to d3, queen c7, the knight had to retreat, knight f3, and now he opened up the center with b takes c, queen takes c4, d5, e takes d, bishop takes, queen somewhere, I think e2, and bishop d6. And it's already pretty obvious from looking at the position that white won't have a lot of fun with his extra pawn. Rook a8 is coming, h2 is under attack. So this is not a line to worry about for black, even though obviously he has to know what he's doing. Instead of c4, the more critical move is, I think, knight to c3. It's also slightly more natural, just developing a piece. But here it looks to me like Marine's recommendation is very good, to go c5, queen back to d1. If it goes to c3, normally it will get kicked with c4 later on, so it tends to be a better choice to put it on d1 right away. And now the move he's giving is b4, which I also like. White has to go knight d5, knight takes d5, e takes d5, and here bishop d6 is another nice move. Planning to activate the queen to f6 or h4 or increase the pressure with queen c7. And in view of the fact that the pawn on d5 is kind of weak and the white king is slightly weakened, and after bishop takes e5 at any moment we have opposite colored bishops, white can't really hope for an advantage here.